What's up, y'all? We are live. Welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Action Show. On the Imperfect Action Show, we connect with 6, 7, 8 figure earners that are sharing you lessons and strategies and obstacles and principles that help them become successful. In today's episode, I have someone very, very special. And Aquila Shabazz, she's someone that's known as Mrs. Cashflow on Instagram and TikTok and social media, right? She's teaching business strategy and also credit and business funding. I'm super excited to have her on today's episode because I wish I would have known you when I started my first business back in 2000. Because I'm telling you, the amount of money I done spent, the amount of mistakes I done made when I was like 21, 22, or even when I was 26 when I started my second business, I could have used you back then. So hopefully everyone that is listening and watching in real time, they could take a lot of gems for you. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Brendan. This is so amazing. Yeah. So that's the time you should make the mistakes, right? And then that's when people know how important it is to use other people's money.
100%. So, why don't you let the people know a little bit more about you, right? How'd you find yourself in this space? And I know, for me, I first obviously found you on social media, and you was going pretty ham, right? Every day with the lives and giving value and sharing and make yourself, available and accessible to the people. So, just talk about your journey and why you decided this was an area that you wanted to focus on and help people in.
Oh wow, like it's mad crazy how I ended up here and I'm on the perfect show, the Imperfect Action Show, because ever since I started this business, that's exactly what it's been. So I left corporate America not voluntarily. I was laid off. I was a network analyst from 2000 to like 2007. And then I was laid off from a major company, AT&T. We all know I was a network analyst there, was laid off for 2 years, got back into the workforce, and then continued with another company. I was in the mobile industry. In 2014, I was laid off and let go 3 times. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but something else has to happen, right? I never aspired to be an entrepreneur. I was sort of
Mm.
forced out. So I'm always excited and I always give kudos to people who are like, I fired my boss. I was like, you really have balls because I did not have it. I was pushed out. I was actually fired on my lunch period and was not, it was for Bay. Brenda, it was crazy. It was crazy, right? I'm coming back from lunch. I'm thinking everything's okay. Everyone's friendly to me on the first half of the day. I'm working. We're hamming it out. We're talking about future projects. The whole while, he's about to fire me. So I go to lunch. I go to open the door, and out come my supervisor, my manager, and a security guard. I was fired right there on the streets. And this guy is like, he was huge. He had to be at least 6'5", 6'7". Like, I am not over exaggerating. And so at the time, I'm like, are they about to arrest me? Like, what happened? So they were like, well, at the time I was working for CTA, and that's the Chicago Transit Authority. So the
Mhm.
bus system. And we were there to standardize their camera systems, and they misappropriated the funds. And he had to let half of the staff of the project, the people on the project, go. So I'm like, is everything okay? It was like, we cannot allow you to go upstairs. People walking in and out, watching me get fired, hand over my badge or my parking pass. It was the most humiliating thing I had ever been through at that time until I went into business for myself. Was the real, you know, most humiliating thing. But I'll get to that. But just to wrap it up and not to stay here to make a long story longer, they fired me. I was like, that's it. I ended up in short-term rentals because at this point I had a condo downtown Chicago, and I also had a 4 unit that I was renting out to long-term renters. So a woman in my building, she used to be in and out of town a lot. She was Cuban. She was from Miami. And we would speak and we would hang out at the gym and take classes together, but we weren't like really close. And just so happened the very next day, I'm like, oh my God, I need yoga. So I go to the yoga studio. I'm fired. I got a lot of bills at this point, Brendan. Like I literally did not have a plan. I was responsible for my family, and I didn't tell anyone I was let go. I would never tell people I was fired because my parents would panic. My friends, they would panic. So I would keep it to myself. I was like, I need yoga. I run into her. She was like, do you want to grab lunch? I'm like, sure. And she was like, well, what's going on? I'm like, well, I just got let go. And she was like, aren't you in real estate? And I'm like, yeah. She was like, well, can you move into one of your units that you already have? And I say, why do you ask? She was like, because maybe you can get into what I do. I do Airbnb. She was like, I'm Airbnb-ing two of the apartments in the condo. Now, Brendan, that was my first time hearing the word
It was
Airbnb.
like,
But at the time, it wasn't like that. This is in 2014. I was sort of like a pioneer. It was like, what's Airbnb? So she get to explain it. So what do you think I'm thinking? I'm like, strangers coming into my condo?
yeah, facts.
I don't know about that, right?
That was like right when Uber too, because I remember when I got on my first Uber ride, and it was cool, but it was different. You know what I'm saying? It was like, but when Uber first started, it really started off with Uber Black, so it was more like a concierge situation. It then started getting a little like more personal to it, start to kind of evolve a little bit. So yeah, I can understand that for sure.
100%. So we're at lunch, and this woman, she's killing it. And when I say killing it, Brendan, she's killing it. So business people always keep a laptop. So she whipped out her laptop when I was like, I don't know about that. And she was like, well, check this out. She whipped open her back end, and I saw a lot of zeros. And she was like, this is the cash coming in every day. I'm like, you made that in one day? Like, what's going on? Like, and that was it. What people are charging 100K for their inner circle, I literally got this from this woman. We became good friends. She literally created my listing. She gave me her staff. She gave me her cleaning situation. She took me shopping. We went to IKEA. We bought artwork. I had her flooring and painting guy. We put a chandelier up. It was crazy. She was like, you got the best condo in the building. I had the penthouse, corner unit.
Yeah. Windows, have some windows.
Floor to ceiling. I got sunsets and sunrises overlooking the lakefront downtown.
That sound like my type of place. I ain't gonna hold you.
Oh my God, I went crazy. I made so much money off that. Well, at the time, it was so much money. I made 84,000 in less than a year. Like
that's amazing. On one unit. Yeah, that's amazing.
So I'm like, how do we duplicate this? So let's fast forward this story. Oh my goodness. I get mentorship. I join a national real estate investing mentorship, and I'm still a part of it today. At the time, I'm not who I am now. Like the circles we hang in, and we're used to investing in ourselves. Even though I paid 20K, I ended up recouping the 20K through taxes. The guy found me from the community, found me 18K. He did my taxes from doing a 3-year audit. I'm like, oh my God, I've been cheated. So now I'm introduced to the entrepreneur world and how they do things, right? So I'm interested in scaling this thing. And I have to say this because I think this is going to be important for your listeners. We run into a guy in the community. He's still big on Airbnb, right? Jay Massey, Cash Flow Diaries, right? At the time, he got clients with 100 units plus. His group is killing it. So he only wants 2K for the mentorship. I'm thinking at the time, like, well, I did this thing by myself. Like, I'm not paying the 2K. At the time, my business partner, he's like a big time wholesaler in Chicago. He like, Akila, pay for the mentorship. So he walks off, going to an appointment. We used to work in the office together. He goes off on an appointment and comes back. He like, you didn't get it? He just whipped out his card and swiped it. It was like $2,100. Brendan, I promise you, the very next day, we make a phone call. My second phone call, I was offered 12 units. Changed me.
Wow.
Changed my mindset.
Wow.
That
Hold on, real quick. Hold on, real quick. Before you continue on, I want to say welcome to the room and to the podcast. To everyone listening in real time, drop your questions below. Akila's really, I mean, we ain't even talking about funny yet. She giving you a lot of game, so make sure that you pay close attention because this is an amazing story. So I just wanted to make sure we just took a quick pause right there. Also, let's make sure that they follow you. So let's drop your Instagram in the chat. Is it at Mrs. Cashflows?
yes,
I'm gonna
please.
drop that right. Yep,
I
drop
have
that right in the chat.
many bank accounts. Be careful.
Yeah, she got a lot of followers and imitators. You know what I'm saying? All right. Okay, so cool. 2,100 for the mentorship. Very next day, just got offered some apartment building. Where we at from there?
Changed me. So I ended up, so my partner, he's into wholesaling. He has this software where we had information to any owner of any luxury building in the city. So we're not calling the property manager, we calling the corporate office, and we get like straight, direct contacts. So I make my second phone call. He was like, hey, let's make some phone calls tomorrow. I'm like, cool. My second phone call. And they offered me 12 units right there over the phone. It was like, hey, I'm going to put you in touch with the property. Because you have to remember, Airbnb isn't all that, it's not prevalent yet. They really didn't understand it. The script that I was given is this corporate rentals, it works. So they like, hey, let's do it. It makes sense to us, right? So I go down there, I seal the deal, but I said, no, let's do 222, right? I'm killing it. So here it is, someone that comes from corporate America. I get into a business. I'm 5 times more successful in that business than I was in corporate America. I really didn't struggle. So I scaled to 14 units, even to the point where I started getting units in California, in Orange County. And I'm killing it. But what I did not do, I never went through the trenches. If you think about my story, everything was given to me. I had everyone just doing everything. I put my business on autopilot, and I just was traveling around the world. I started that next year after joining that mentorship, guys, listen up, from a $2,000 investment over 200K that next year.
So at that point, you're thinking it's smooth, like it's easy. You got the easy button going right now. So at that point, you haven't really hit any adversity yet.
Not at all, Brendan. I'm laughing now because now I know better. But it's sweet. I have an 815 credit score. I got the blueprint. I got my partner. I could get any building I want, but I cap it. I cap it because at the time, I never aspired to be a millionaire. I thought that was it. Someone making 200K a year, I'm rich. That's it. I stopped at 14 units, and I really didn't. It sounds crazy, but I know a lot of you are out here, so I may save someone today. My business just was on autopilot and just was getting checks on a daily basis. I wasn't paying attention to the business really. I had no aspirations to grow it or scale it beyond that. And guess what? I hit a 4-month drought. Now I'm like, what's going on? I'm not really paying attention to the trends. I'm not knowing what's going on in the industry. A company called Saunders comes in, but unbeknownst to all the professional hosts, we don't know this yet. Now Airbnb is huge. So hedge funds are now investing. So they're setting up shop. And Saunders did to me and other professional hosts around the country what Walmart did to Kmart. They set up shop and they slashed the prices. So where I'm charging $350 a night, they came in charging $150. That was it. No bookings for 4 months straight. My biggest mistake and how I got here after this long story.
It's a great story. I'm loving this story.
I was given the blueprint for business credit and funding in 2014 by my mentor. And because he was a real estate guy, real estate people are the biggest users of other people's money. So I didn't do that part. I was like, I had my business, I incorporated, I did all of that. AK Suites, they still call me today. And I didn't go for the business credit because the company was like, the people who offered me the units, they were like, hey, where your business isn't old enough, we can put it in your name, and then after 2 years, we'll revisit that. And he said, no, Akila, no. If they don't accept that, you move on to someone who will. Do not put it in your name. But I did it anyways. Because in my mind, 84,000 times, four, so it was going smooth until Saunders came in, hit a 4-month drought. That was it. I didn't know what to do. So now I'm on the hook for rents of 30K plus a month.
Yeah.
Leases
you got units with rent that's compounding right now.
Yes. Crazy. Guys, not only am I president of this company, I'm definitely a client, and my story is mad crazy. And so I'm killing it. I got $150,000 liquid cash in Bank of America alone. I got other cash in other accounts, but that one I remember vividly because that's where all the bulk of my money was. Nice credit card limits, Amex, Chase, all of them, Tier 1, Bank of America, high credit cards. Here's how my story went. Hit a drought. I'm like, hey, I'll rebound in spring. This is my first time hitting the problem. So I'm thinking I could save this business, but it's failing. So I'm paying the rents. So if I got $30,000 in overhead, that 150K didn't last too long, right? And that went. And so now I'm like, let me use my credit cards. Guess what? Bank of America alerted the other people that my utilization went up. And guess what? Amex, Discover, Barclays, all of them, they were like, we're not on board with this. Akila's in trouble. Lowered my limits. Now flat broke. Flat broke to the point where I went to the merchant loan accounts, cabbage. I exonerated everything. I used everything I could possibly use. Now my credit is trash. Now I'm unable to pay my rent. Now I'm bleeding and they're snatching money out of my checking account. I was so broke.
You talking about they're garnishing the wages now too?
Well, if anyone knows what a merchant loan is, MCAs, cash in hands.
Yeah.
That route.
Got you.
I remember Cabbage and PayPal. They were like, hey, let us know if you ever need anything. Because I was processing my bookings and my payments through PayPal.
Yeah. And they need to get their money back. So yeah, they taking it out.
100%. So, I'm bleeding. So I'm so broke. I could not afford the 5K to file bankruptcy. So I have a family member that's not so savory. And I was like, look, what do I do? And she was like, you can file your own bankruptcy. I'm like, what? She was like, yeah, girl, it's only $246. That cousin, a little bit about it. I had to call her. I'm like, look, I'm hurting. What do I do? Like, what can we do? She was like, girl, go down to the 7th floor, the Dirksen building downtown, ask for the bankruptcy, chapter 7, and come here. Let's make an appointment and I'll fill it out with you. That's exactly what we did. I personally filed my own bankruptcy. And I learned a lot of lessons. I was in my apartment at the time. Now my condo is the only thing that's making money. The other units, because they had the great views, the other units weren't doing well. So now I'm displaced in a rental while my condo, because I needed it for the little cash that was coming in, I had eventually put a corporate renter in there. But I'm bleeding. When I say I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding. I didn't even have enough money to pay my rent. I'm hiding from the guy to avoid eviction. I learned a lot about myself when I was in that valley. I went through a depression stage. I lost my father during that time. I lost my long-term relationship. When I say it was winter time, it was winter time. Yeah, crazy, right?
That's crazy. That's
So
crazy.
I ended up just trying to figure it out. Once I went running one day and I was like, look, girl, that business is gone. You are broke. What are you going to do? I ended up relocating. I ended up selling my building and my condo, and I ended up coming to Atlanta, and I literally had to start over. So, me joining a financial literacy mentorship, I was able to stop and cease all those evictions from hitting my personal account. I learned the strategies to do that because think about it, guys, I would have had 14 evictions.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. That's
Wow,
crazy.
that would have been really nasty for someone. It was almost like when I now look back at it, it was sort of like a setup, like it had to happen. So once I joined the financial literacy, I'm like, look, I just need to get this bankruptcy off. That's it. And I just needed to go into business. I was not anyone that was on the internet for any reason at all. I didn't even entertain social media. Like the account was there, but I was never there. I had 300 followers when I first came back to Instagram, right? And it was crazy. So here it is. I get my bankruptcy off. I'm looking to start a home healthcare business. I'm licensed, Brendan, but something else happened. God had a different plan for me. I'm so excited. I'm like, look, y'all, I got my bankruptcy removed. I just got approved for so now everybody's like, really? Well, my husband has bankruptcy. Do you think you can help him out? And I'm like, nah, I don't do credit repair and I don't do funding. So now I'm referring to a guy in my mentorship. And it got so crazy. One week I had 7 people. And he said, Akila, these a couple of these people think that they're working with you. I was like, no, I was very clear that I don't do credit. I got a guy. I wasn't getting any cut, no commission, anything. I just didn't care. I just wanted to help people, right?
Yeah.
So he sat me down and was like, look, if you want, we could just split the commission and I'll train you. I'll walk you through funding these first few people, and then I'll give you all the contracts, everything you need, and then we'll go from there. And I was like, I don't want to be a credit person though. And he was like, you should really think about it. And I said, okay, let me go to my now. What I did find, Brendan, when I was broken in the valley and in the storm was prayer. I
Mm.
never used to pray. I never was a praying person.
So
Uh,
let's think about the wellness real quick. So you was in the storm. You was doing yoga for some clarity. You still in a storm, right? You were walking for some clarity, and now that you got the prayer. So I think that is also like an undertone. You know what I mean? Because it's like you're still having hope and you're trusting in something, right? So I think that, I mean, that's what I'm seeing as well, right? Because you're not just you're
yeah,
like you're like you're in a position where it is tough, but you're not giving up, right? So you're still like taking it in and asking yourself questions and being patient. I mean, that's what I'm seeing as you telling this story as well.
I hope you guys are picking that up as well because you have to understand me. I was someone that never experienced money problems or issues at all. And to find myself in that situation is crazy. So here's how my story ended up. I sent him 7 people. That's how I went into business. That was the first imperfect action. I had no clue what I was doing. I literally had to trust people and trust this internet thing. I'm like, I just want to do real business. Like, I don't want people to have to like me. I don't know. They're like Aquila. Like, I'm telling you, let's just do it. So I start the business. People are getting results. And this is the easiest business I've ever had in my life. Like, people are coming to me. Like, I'm like, this is crazy. All the resources I needed were flowing into me. So I get started. When he told me to stop and think about it, I go and I meditate. And that's when it hit me, Brendan. Like it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, girl, this is why you ended up and everything that you did led you to this moment. I was not interested in business credit and funding at all, but I had to feel and experience what it felt like to be broke, to have bad credit. I had an 815 credit score. To be in a position to not pay her rent. How do you go from being an evictor, evicting people, to an evictee?
Mm.
That's when it hit me. I was like, you were set up. And the people who could have helped me, my father died. My long-term relationship broke off. I was literally left to do it alone. And I discovered business credit and funding, guys. And I'm here to tell you, you don't want to end up being me. Trying to operate doing business on the personal side is just a tragedy waiting to happen. Because here's what could have happened had I had just a little financial literacy. Do y'all think I would have did things the same way? I think not. I would have filed bankruptcy on the business. I would have walked away with that 150,000 liquid cash and did something with it. Probably just went ahead and started a new LLC and could have been lit with $250,000 with that 815 credit score with those assets that I had. I had 2 4 units at the time.
That sound like a Donald Trump move right there.
But I'm a banker's dream. But ignorance is not bliss.
Yeah, facts.
I took the route I took because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
That was the plan I bought. So the question is, like, whose plan are you buying? You know, you need to understand how to move, because especially when you're an entrepreneur and things blindside you, you have to have ways to get out of situations. And there's no way, looking back on that I should have lost it all in the fashion that I did. Just no way.
Facts. I mean, I got a story very similar to that as well, as far as like losing out on a crazy opportunity and then having to walk away from a business that I have for about 10 years. So I definitely understand that. And then what type of financial situation or financial peril that put me in. So we have a couple of questions. And if you don't mind, normally we keep the Imperfect Action Show to about 30 minutes, but you've been going so crazy. Would you mind if we keep have a little bit more of your time?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right, guys. Drop some questions in the chat. Akila really just shared something that I know is probably touching someone right now in real time, or if you're watching this back, maybe this is perfect timing for you, right? So Ty got a question. She's asking, I would like to know how to remove a bankruptcy off the credit report, or does it matter if it's been over 7 years?
No, it really doesn't matter. The statute of limitations for a bankruptcy is 10 years. So but it's been on your report for so long, it just depends on what it is, what type of credit you're going after. Like, even if you're going after a home at this point, they're not going to negatively deny you or anything like that. But it just depends on what you want. But if you're looking to have it removed, yeah, it's definitely possible. It's a process. It's not easy, and it's not something I can explain right here in this one question and over this stream. But what I can tell you is look into the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and you can go that route. But honestly, I'm curious to know, I would need a little back story on what it is you're trying to accomplish, because the bankruptcy being that old probably isn't really affecting you at this point. Not much.
So Ty, if you want, send Akila a DM directly. She did have another question, so I'm gonna just put it up here real quick. Ty's asking, what's the best way to have collections removed from the credit report? And is it better to use consumer law when fixing your credit?
Yes, definitely use consumer law. My specialty is business credit and funding, but what I can tell you is you will need to use consumer law to get it off. It's a process. Definitely DM me. I do have a do-it-yourself credit repair book, and I also do have a community where I help clients and people with questions and things like that. But if you have collections, I would want you, honestly, I'm going to just be honest with you guys. And I say this all the time. I would want for you to pay for someone to do it for you if you're serious. Like, if you're looking to get to business credit and funding, You trying to do something like that yourself. I talked to a guy today who's been trying to do it himself for 2 years. He was like, I just can't. That I got the bankruptcy removed not because I'm a hero, it's because I was part of recession proof. I'm in a community with the best in the game, and I struggled. It was not easy. When I tell you the best in the game were helping me, I had two people from there who got top, who's very reputable in the credit industry, and they were giving me letters and strategies, and I was struggling. So for you to go out on your own, I'm not going to tell you that it's not possible, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be hard and rough. You trying to figure things out alone. And I highly recommend you don't do that.
Sounds like some wise words. I would probably second that, to be honest with you. And it's not because um, uh, it's Aquila, it's because it would probably save you a lot more time. Somebody already laid out the steps. You just got to get your ducks in a row and then just kind of follow the blueprint and have somebody basically just work with you to get it done. Then you trying to figure it out and navigate it. It's kind of like trying to follow a map and there's no trail. Like it's really just the forest. What I'm saying? It's like the forest, but and then you're left to cut down all the trees and figure out the path and clean away the debris so you can see where you're going. And it's raining and snowing and all of that, and then you have to continue to start all over. So
that's how I felt. I quit twice. And someone from RPX, shout out to my guy, he was like, Aquila, what was the response? I'm like, well, they said, whip out the letter right now. Let's see. So I'm literally on Zoom. He was Zooming with me. I'm about to Zoom you right now. This is what you say. We're writing the response right now. I'm like, well, I got it right now. This is the only time I have, because I'm busy. So I'm on the laptop. I'm putting the response in. And that was the last response that I needed. I literally, the reason that I'm part of the reason I'm here, Brendan, seriously, is because I tried to pay people. I tried to pay two people. I was like, look, you want the 1,800 because bankruptcy costs. And they were like, one person wanted to charge me 15 and one wanted to charge me 18, but they were from recession proof. And when they got on the phone with me and they seen all the work I already did, they both had the same response. They like, you did everything I would have did. Like, I'm not going to do anything different. So what I will do for you is send you this letter. But here's the key. I had the resource of the person who had the answer to my issue. So they were sending me letters. It was like, look, you did everything. So send this letter. And that last time I was about to quit and he called me over the phone, we did some more laws and it was heated. Like the energy was there. He was like, now send that certified today. He called me later that day. Did you get that letter out? I was like, yes. Literally 2 weeks later, gone.
Yeah, so see, I would rather pay for the accountability and the support, to be honest with you. And then it allows you to focus on whatever you may be doing to bring in income or maybe spend time with your family or maybe just whatever you have going on the other end. It's tough to learn something and implement it in real time if you're very unfamiliar with it.
Yes, and here's what I want everyone to really understand. You're right, trying to learn something and implement it at the same time, and you're confused. So once you hit a wall and they tell you no, you're like, well, what next? All right, I'll call him next week. Like, this is stressful. Like, I just wanted to cry. Like, I did everything they told me to do and they won't remove it. I mean, it was just crazy. So here's the thinking that I tell people. If you're in business, you can look at an LLC being worth 150K minimum. That's minimum. That's me not going crazy. So do you think it's worth it to you to pay a couple thousand, 115, 1,200 for someone to repair your credit? I think so.
Yeah, facts. Man, listen, that was amazing. That was great. If you guys got any questions in real time, drop them in the chat. if you could give us before we go, because I wanted them to learn a little bit about the funding, and I know you have your workshop, so we could put that below in the description, right? Um, if you can lay out really quickly, like some of the importance of why someone should be, you know, getting business credit and obviously positioning for business funding, we could leave it off. We could leave it off there.
100%. Definitely you want to go out and get business credit and funding, right? Like, why business credit? Number one is going to hide debt. Anything that you get, like, I like to go after 0% interest credit cards and no documentation loans. There are a ton of banks out there that will give you no documentation loans up to 50K. What does that mean? You don't need to produce any documents, W-2s, tax returns, anything like that. It's just stated income. And I specialize in helping people get 90K in 90 days. But technically, when you're set up, the world and the funding options are open to you. Your personal credit profile should be up in the correct fashion, though, right? You want to make sure that everything is set up properly. You don't owe anybody, meaning you don't have any negative accounts. You don't have any more than 3 credit inquiries on each credit bureau. Your late payments are all cleared out. You have a credit history of at least 5 years and with 10 positive accounts reporting active. And you want those accounts to be mixed up with installments and revolving credit, okay? Then you can leverage that to go after 0% interest credit cards. And here's what I need you to understand. Once everything is set up on the business side, you're separating your business directly from your personal account. How? Now you have an entity, your business, that has its own name, its own address, its own banking account. So when things go wrong, you could dissolve the business. You don't ever want to be in a position I was in. These are strategies you should know. Now, even only that, all that rating and all that stuff that goes on the personal side, like if you use more than 30% credit card utilization, your score starts to tank. None of that is an issue on the business side. All they care about is that you're going to make the payments on time. What does that mean for you? You can max the credit cards out and you can pay the minimum to invest, scale, start, grow a business, and you can take your time to pay it back. That's huge. You have 0% interest, typically up to 20 months of multiple credit cards. And the more you use, the more they give you. You are going to, so if you're using cash, your cash, once it's used, is gone and it's at risk. But when you have credit, it can grow beyond you. It's just so many different opportunities when it comes to credit. I can go on and on and on. But what I would like to let you know is I do have a community. So if you're someone that's unfamiliar with what it is that I'm talking about, it's only $25 a month. So definitely tap in.
All right. So before we head out, you have the $25 a month community, right? You have your weekly webinars.
Yes.
And then why don't you let people know what, how the weekly webinar kind of flows and what would they be actually be taking advantage of from attending, and then we can end it right there.
You will learn everything you need to know, the entire blueprint on how to get 90K in 90 days. I talk about the secret lending options that you have. I talk about how to build and establish business credit. And I also give you a funding sequence. So all you need to do is DM me on Instagram 90K, and you will receive the link to my weekly free webinars. Also, I want to give y'all a free gift. Let's do this.
What we doing? What we doing right now?
I want to give them a text code. They can definitely text 90K to this phone number.
Okay.
And you will receive a free ebook on how to obtain the perfect business credit score, which is
okay. What's the number?
The number is 773
900
8104.
8104. All right, you guys. Text 90K. I just put it right there, so you guys can see it. Text 90K to 773 900-8104 and take advantage of that free ebook from Okila. This was amazing. I appreciate you. I learned so much about your story. You share so much, and I know that someone watching this in real time or watching the playback or listening to it definitely have received something that was meant for them to receive through your story and your testimony. You guys make sure that you follow Mrs. Cashflows on Instagram at MRS Cashflows. You know, and yeah, this was great. This has been a very amazing Imperfect Action.
I love it. Let's go. Take action, guys. Do not wait. Take action.
100%. You guys, thanks a lot for tapping in. Make sure you follow at Mrs. Cashflows. This has been another amazing episode of the Imperfect Action Show. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video out with someone that you know is going to make an impact. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.